All right. Thank you guys for joining our webinar. If you're thinking about buying an extended service contract or warranty, and we'll talk about that in a second, you're in the right place. And I have brought in a guest expert from RVing Solutions, Vaugh Miller, over here to my side. And thanks, Vaugh, for joining us.
It's my pleasure, Tim. Good to see you.
Yeah, no, we have a lot to dispense to our friends here. So I appreciate you guys taking time to join us. Find the chat area. That's where you're going to ask questions as we go throughout. And we're just going to give you as much information as we can, answer questions that you might have. And by the time you're done, you'll be able to answer this question that's coming up right here on the screen. What's the biggest mistake to avoid when buying a service contract? I hope you're ready for that one, Vaugh, because I'm going to ask you that. But yeah, we're excited to convey information. I've been doing RV shows and webinars for a number of years, been going to the factories, been actually involved with warranties stuff for a while, years ago. So I'm excited to let people know, what to expect. And I just don't like having surprises. You spend all that money to buy a nice new RV, and then you're surprised by something down the road, a couple of years or, even 3-4 years. Why not figure it out at the beginning? So, Vaugh, tell us what the biggest mistake to avoid when buying a service contract.
Well, this is going to be a long answer to a very simple question, and I like using analogies. I mean, when you're buying the coach itself, you know what you want, and it's really detail oriented. I mean, people take the time and they do the research on the coach itself and everything. But when it comes to, especially if you're buying something like this at a dealership, because man, it's a whirlwind. They do bullet points, boom, 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 and really don't go into detail. But I think the biggest mistake is knowing what's covered, what's not covered. Take the time to, if you're in a situation where you're buying it from a dealer, take the time and talk to the closing people. Hey, what's it mean? What's exclusionary? What's stated coverage? But knowing what's covered, what's not covered. This is not a warranty.
Yeah,
this
tell us
is
about
not
the
a warranty.
So what's the difference between a service contract and a warranty? Because a lot of times it just kind of slips off the tongue. Oh, let's get a warranty. Let's get an extended warranty. That's kind of what I was always taught. Like when you check out at Walmart, say no to the warranty because it's a waste of money. Obviously, RV's a lot different when you're going down a road, and things that aren't built for this type of use are part of your home on wheels, and it is really important. So what's the difference between service contract and a warranty?
Well, a warranty is what you get from the dealers, from the manufacturer. Typically on a travel trailer or fifth wheel. Now, some companies out there offer a 2-year warranty that would be a quote bumper to bumper where everything's covered. And so that's what a warranty is. It comes directly from the factory or the manufacturer. A service contract is just that. It's a service contract. There are things that are not going to be covered. And I think the most important thing there, Tim, is knowing what's not covered. Because it's interesting in talking to people on a daily basis and also reading reviews online. Sometimes I chuckle and I look at it and it's like, well, that thing's not covered. That thing's not covered. But the people think it should be covered because they think it's a warranty. And, I know my thoughts, and I know probably your thoughts too, Tim. A warranty will constitute everything being covered. That's not the case in a service contract. It covers a good portion of everything, but knowing what's not covered is the biggest key there. And that's the biggest difference.
Good. And we're going to cover
in a service contract.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you. Because we're going to cover the two types basically of service contracts, stated and exclusionary. So you guys know what those are. And a lot of it comes down, and this is where I want to make sure you guys don't get, burned, is you're talking to a salesperson. They kind of just sometimes will throw out the words, make you feel like it's bumper to bumper coverage. The service contract is, and they may not say that. Like if you replayed the recording, it may be like, oh yeah, everything's covered. Like they may have wording in there so it's not a blatant lie, but in your mind, your perception is your reality, right? So if you think,
Right.
oh, it's fully covered, not so. That's why we want to make sure, and we're going to actually walk through a live contract, one that you just sent over to me to put up on the screen, and we're going to walk through so you can see it. It's not a surprise when you dive into this, and we'll show you what to look for. And if you guys have any questions, put them in the chat as we're going through this, and we'll also send out a replay, so a recording of this a couple hours after via email, so you'll get that. And so let's dig in a little deeper here.
Let me one more point on that. When you get in the closing room, when it comes time to close, and then they spring all this stuff on you.
That's where it happens.
They're going to focus on the positives. Oh, this is going to cover this. This is going to cover that. The question you should ask them is, what is it not cover? Okay. Good. Make them do their work, because that's good. Yeah, because make them do their work, make them, explain to you, what it doesn't cover. And not that these things have holes in them, because they don't, because, these companies have to have these contracts, or these agreements, as we like to call them. They're not a contract. Is knowing these things inside and out, because you're paying good money for these things. Don't just have them take you in the closing office. It's like, oh, it covers this, this, this. Okay, and then we're going to move to this. And, slow them down. Tell them, hey, explain to me what's not covered on these things and what the process is.
The other thing is, and I'm big on scenarios, throw out some scenarios. Say, I'm camping in a campground, do this, stick gets into the slide seal. When I close it up, I don't realize it's up there. Slide seal's damaged. Is that an insurance claim, or is that something that's going to be covered under my extended service contract, or none of the above? Ask questions.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to know. So,
with my customers, I love it when they ask questions, because, again, it avoids any issues down the road. And I'm always very upfront and very, very transparent when it comes to these things, because the last thing I want is somebody to come back to me and say, well, you said this. Well, no, I want you to understand what's in this contract and what is in the agreement here, and for you to be comfortable with that, because you're paying good money for these things.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious. I'm going to throw up a poll. How many of this will be your first RV? Or do you already own an RV, or no, we're getting ready to purchase an RV? That will just help us. So I'm going to put that up right now. So look for that. So moving on. So this is just a little slide that kind of shows some of the costs associated with some of the repairs. And this is probably 4 or 5 years old.
Tim, this is these prices, in today's economy. In today's economy, it's going to be a little more. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. The hourly rate, you got to remember, you go to a service center, hourly rates average around 150. Some are higher, some are less. Not much. I don't think I've seen much below 130, 140. So
yeah,
and probably now even going up. So yeah, it looks like I don't know, about 75% already have it, and and you have to do it when you buy it. That's probably a misconception, is you kind of feel pressured, oh, I have to get this thing the day I get this, or I can't get it. But you can, how long can you go on a used one? How old can a used RV be and still get a service contract?
The companies that we use and at RVing Solutions, there are 3 different companies that we use. One will go out as far as 10 years, and the other 2 go out 15 years. So if a dealer is pressuring you to buy now because, hey, you can't buy it later, well, yes, you can. That's why, companies like ours, we're a brokerage, you can buy it. So, but typically there are some companies out there go as far as 20 years, that you could buy a contract. So you can buy one at any time.
No, that's interesting. So Polls back. Now we've about 60% already own an RV, 40% are preparing to purchase. So I'm going to end that poll, but that's fascinating. So I appreciate you guys, even the ones that are thinking about buying, doing your homework first, because you can save yourself a lot of headaches. So
exactly.
Let's keep moving on. Obviously, there's a need for service contracts, but why don't you give us some do's and don'ts when you're buying, from a dealership? Because a lot of people, especially if they're getting ready, the 60% that are getting ready to go buy a new one, maybe talk about some do's and don'ts when you're actually getting this rolled into your package at a dealership. It's all in your financing kind of thing, and just bundle it all together.
Well, I think, honestly, Tim, if you could pay for this thing without financing it into the plan, you're better off from that standpoint, because you're not paying interest on the cost of the plan itself. I think that's one thing to take in consideration. If you could pay for it separate, it's better off, because think about it. If you let's say you got a 10-year note on an RV.
Yeah. Which is, what, 10 to 20 on a typical.
Yeah, exactly. Purchase. And you pay X amount for a 4-year plan. Well, after that 4-year plan, you're still paying on it, actually. Not only are you paying on it, you're paying interest. Point. Yeah.
That's a lot. Yeah.
So if you could pay for that separate, that you're much better off in that regard. That's one thing that, if you're going to buy it from a dealer, do it that way, because that way, you're not paying more than you have to.
So maybe instead of adding to instead of putting down a huge down payment, put down the minimum down payment that you need, and then use that extra, a few grand or whatever it is to buy
the service contract. Yeah.
You're not stretching that out. That's
because figure this, say if it's a 4.99 or a 5.99 interest rate, and you pay $3,000 for a service contract. Okay. And over that period of time, how much are you really paying for that service contract?
Yeah.
Yep. So avoid that if you can.
Good comment from Joseph Fields. Ask questions by email. Good luck proving a salesman's verbal answer. I like that. That's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up. Do this, the scenarios and the different things that we were talking about. Ask them by email so you have it in writing.
And another thing too is to ask them what company. And this is something I have people, will call us, and sometimes they have the wrong number and such. And I'll ask them, well, what company do you have the plan through? Well, I bought it at Mesa RV. Well, no, what company is the contract through? What's the administrator? And a majority of people do not know. So that's another thing. Know what company that or administrator who's administering the contract. Know the numbers to call in case you have a claim. Those are another thing to ask when you're in that closing room. It's a good idea to buy the service contract, but ask them specifically, because honestly, Tim, what I find out is dealers, they know RVs, and they are taught to sell these things on what is covered. This is covered. This is covered. This is covered. A lot of them. And I'm not saying all of them, but some of them do not know. They just know, okay, we'll do this bullet point. This is what's covered. Okay, you want it? You don't want it? Okay. But the good ones will know the ins and outs of the service contract. There are some good ones out there too. There's some good dealers out there that know and help you to purchase this and feel good about purchasing it.
So you want to ask, make sure you know what do you word it? The
administrator. Who's the administrator of the contract?
Okay. So you want to know that.
Because a lot of people think the dealer does, and that's not the case.
Yeah. So the administrator of the contract, and they have ratings, kind of like insurance companies, right? Where it's like A+ rated administrator of these contracts. So, and there's also a lot of confusion. I think you carry I know you carry a whole bunch of different ones that you vetted, but there's one called United States Warranty. Well, on the car side, I think isn't there something like U.S. Warranty or something very similar? So a lot of these have names that people confuse, like on Google and different things. Like, oh, you see bad reviews about U.S. Warranty, but United States Warranty is up in Cleveland, Ohio, not in Florida, and it's A-rated or whatever. It's like you want to do some homework on the actual administrator. That's a
what's funny. What's funny about that is when you call United States Warranty, their little spiel there is that if you're calling for a car, we are not U.S. Warranty. We don't sell these contracts for cars. This is RVs only, and so they get a lot of calls there. But United States Warranty is the RV side of it.
Those guys are actually like 5 minutes from where I live.
Yeah, so, that's a great company. We've been with them a long time. Revelos is another one, and and Cornerstone United are the three that we deal with, and we're looking to pick up a couple more here. We're in the works, so we got some cool things coming down the road.
Before we get into the two types of contracts, stated and exclusionary, what's the difference between insurance? Kind of where does insurance fall versus these extended service contracts? Like, can you just give an example? I just want to make sure
sure.
Realize you still want to get insurance because
well, people ask me that all the time, Tim. That's a very good question. Insurance is, basically liability insurance, that type of thing. Any damage that's done, hail damage, any damage that's done on the road or, by a tree or anything like that, that is all insurance. Okay. That's not going to be covered by your extended service plan. But keeping it simple, anything mechanical or electrical that goes wrong, so your refrigerator goes out, that type of thing, that's going to be through your service contract. Any damage or those type of things, that will be an insurance claim.
Okay.
Any water damage, that's not going to be your extended service plan. That's going to be an insurance claim.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And another thing is what we sell is a tire and wheel coverage. We won't get into that, but one question that people ask me all the time is when you buy a tire and wheel program, you have a blowout. And when you have a blowout on these things, it can rip the bottom of your RV to shreds. And people often ask me, does that cover that? I'm like, no, that'll be your insurance. So again, it'll cover the replacement of the tire, but any damage that it does, no, that doesn't. That falls on your insurance carrier.
No, that's good. So then the biggest thing I think is that it really pays the claims. It's like, well, it's worthless piece of paper if they don't actually pay the claims that I'm expecting them to. And like you said, making sure we know what's expected. And so that's why I want to get into this whole idea of the two types of coverage. The first type, you guys can write this down, stated coverage. And then the almost opposite side of that is exclusionary. And so jump right in here, Vaughn, but like stated, I have what's listed on this contract. What's stated here is what's covered. Opposite of that is exclusionary. So only everything's covered, the whole RV excluding these items. So let's dive into the stated.
Tim, you know what would make this a lot easier? Can you pull up that contract?
Yeah.
And I could show people the difference. I know, probably jumping ahead here.
Pull up a live contract. This is explain what we're getting ready to show them.
Okay. There, as Tim said, there's two different types of coverage. It doesn't matter what company you go with, and they word it a little differently, but exclusionary and stated. Exclusionary is the most comprehensive coverage. What that covers is everything at Coach except for what is listed in the exclusions, which will be things that are structural, things that are cosmetic, also normal wear and tear stuff, batteries, brake pads, those type of things won't be covered. Stated coverage is just that. It covers only what is stated in the contract. Tim, can you magnify that just a little bit?
Yeah, let me see what I can do here.
If you can.
Is that getting bigger?
Yeah, there you go. Okay, that'll be fine. Now,
Okay.
This is a sample contract through Revelos, okay, one of the companies, and they want their consumers, they want their customers to understand what they're getting into. Okay, now it says coverage here, as you can see, as we start out. Gold coverage. Now this would be stated coverage. Okay, chassis. It says the engine. Then it's going to list out.
Obviously on a motorhome, right?
Yeah, this would be on a motorhome. Chassis would be everything that's covered under the engine, everything that's covered under the transmission. If it's not listed in that list, then it's not going to be covered. Okay, as you can see, there's quite a bit. Okay, the drive axles, the suspension, the steering, the air conditioning, the brakes, what all is covered under the brakes, what's all covered under the electrical, the electronics, the heating and cooling, the fuel delivery, chassis frame, also interior and exterior, what's covered, seals and gaskets, those things. So keep in mind, under stated coverage, if it's not stated on there, it's not covered. Okay, let's scroll down to where it says coach. Now, this is the coach portion. Again, the water heater, the waste system, the fresh water system, air conditioner, range and hood. Let's go here to where it says air conditioning. All the parts that are listed under the air conditioning, those are what's covered. If one of the parts in your air conditioner goes out and it's not listed in here and you have stated coverage, it's not going to be covered. Okay. Same with
what if it damages? Maybe give us some examples of what wouldn't be covered here. But if, say, for example, a inverter goes out, say it's not on the list, but it damages the refrigerator and takes out the refrigerator, would the fridge be covered at that point?
Well, it's going to be covered because it's covered under the contract. Okay. There is also, again, what is covered, as a result of, if a covered part causes another covered part to be damaged, then both are going to be covered in that respect. Okay. If a non-covered part covers or causes a covered part to be damaged, only the covered part will be covered. Okay. Not the non-covered part. But there's something you can purchase. We'll get into this later, but there's a way to get that non-covered part covered as well. It's called consequential damage. It's an option you could purchase. Okay.
And this is just so you guys know, this is a 7-page document, but I really want you to don't just real quickly like, okay, yeah, we'll take that. I want you to make sure you take this home and overnight, like go through it, read it, make sure you know what's covered. There's not a rush, like it's better to know what's covered before you buy this thing.
Right. And Tim, with this particular contract, if you'll scroll down, that's the gold plan, that's stated coverage. The platinum plan, it says includes gold coverage plus the following. So everything you saw up there in the gold is also covered in the platinum, plus luxury component coverage, which will lay out everything for you. Diesel engine package, air brakes, leveling system, slide out room, seals and gaskets. In addition to that gold, that's what is covered under the stated coverage plan. Okay.
All right. Now, so that's stated.
That's stated coverage. Scroll down to page 6, top of page 6 and page 7. Now that would be exclusionary plan. And we'll come back up to some of this other stuff here in a minute.
All right, so to 9 right here, exclusions.
Yeah, exclusions. Okay.
Let me just pop over here 1 second. We'll get it. Okay.
Okay. Now these exclusions, I tell people I simplify it and break it down to its simplest forms. You go through this and you see whatever is listed here is not covered. Folks, it looks like there's a lot of stuff that's not covered. Well, there's a lot of structural things. There's a lot of cosmetic things in a coach, in a motorhome. So for it not to be covered, they have to list out everything. Okay.
So basically on the exclusionary, just to recap, the whole thing's covered, excluding these items on this
Right,
list. And
exactly.
a lot of these you'll see are like wear and tear things, brake pads,
Normal
and
wear
all
and
that.
tear, a carburetor, the battery pack on a hybrid unit, shock absorbers, those things. I always tell people it's kind of no brainer stuff right there.
Right. For some
I have
people, they
never
won't have to
heard,
repair it because they
I've
won't
never
bang it down
heard,
the road.
yeah, I've never heard of a manual transmission RV before, but if there is one out there, it's not that part of it's not covered. Okay. So you can see it lists out those. Now let's get down to part B, section B, navigation system and perimeter warning system. If you have a GPS or perimeter warning system, which a lot of the newer units have, it's not covered. However, you can buy coverage for that in this particular company. It's an option. You could purchase. A lot of people tell me, well, I don't have perimeter warning system, and if my GPS goes out, I'll just use my phone. It's better than paying the $250 to get that option.
Look down here, they just a lot of this is spelling out like any failure resulting from collision. It's kind of talking
Yeah,
about what's
exactly.
by insurance, and
Mm-hmm.
so it's not really listing a bunch of parts here. It's just things that.
Yeah, they want people to understand any failure results from collision, internal or external, fire, theft, an act of God, those type of things are not going to be covered. Okay. Your refrigerator goes out because, it's there's a part that wears out. Yeah, that's going to be covered. So, but what I tell people is just familiarize yourself with it. It doesn't take long to read through it. It's funny when I talk to people and, I'll talk to them on the phone, then I'll send them the information. And then they come back to me and send me an email saying, okay, what's covered? Well, okay, take the time and read it. It doesn't take long. I mean, this is a very simple one through Revelos. They have a very simple contract. Everything's direct and to the point. And I love dealing with that company simply because of that reason.
Yeah, no, that's really good.
And again, if I'm there, you have questions after that, hey, give me a call. I mean, and I'll simplify it. I just try to break it down. As I always say, break it down to its simplest form.
That's good. I'll put up your contact information here in a little bit. But there's a lot of other things that come with these, it seems like, which are nice little add-ons. Maybe mention what you're seeing kind of typical between different companies.
Not every company will have additional benefits. A lot of them do. And Tim, if you would, and I'm going to ask you to pull up that contract again. This would be, and it's really easy to kind of go through that and what it looks like in contract form. This would be section 3, Tim, page 3, section 3. There you go. And right here. It says deductibles do not apply. Now, what that means, and this is typical with most all companies on their benefits, deductibles do not apply. Okay. So let's say you need a tow. Okay. It's on a covered item. You need a tow. Now, Revelos will pay for the first $1,000 of a tow, and then you pay the difference. Well, you have to pay that tow bill yourself. Okay. Say if the tow bill is $800. Okay. You pay the tow bill. They take you to, where you want to take it. You keep the receipt and then send the receipt in. They'll reimburse you for that. So anything under this section, service calls, they have air transportation, food spoilage, fuel, LP, gas, pet benefit, which is kind of cool. Concierge service, that is just an 800 number where they'll help you. Scroll down a little bit more there, Tim. RV technical assistance. That's you want to troubleshoot. You call them 24 hours. There's RV tech on the other end of the line. That's kind of cool. Emergency roadside assistance. That's where the towing comes in. Okay. They'll pay, say you need a jump. call somebody to come out and give you jump. They'll pay for the first $100 of that jump. If there's any difference, then you pay that. But again, you have to send in the receipt for this. So this is pretty cool. Not all companies have this. I know the biggest one out there, they sell their emergency roadside assistance plans separate. Okay, this is all included on RVwholesalers plans. So, and then they show you how reimbursements work, and then they give you a disclaimer there. And if you scroll down a little more on this one, there, under stated coverage, which is the gold and platinum plan, their coverage for each of these items is different than on the diamond plan, which is the exclusionary. Let me give you an example. Under a service call, okay, the diamond plan, they will pay up to $200 on a service call. That would be somebody coming to the campground. Say you have a slide stuck open and you can't move the coach, right? You have to call service, a mobile service. They will pay for the first $200 of that. Okay. Again, you have to pay for it and then they reimburse you. Okay. Same with air transportation, food spoilage. So under the gold plan, service calls, they'll pay for the first $100. The platinum plan, $150. For the diamond plan, $200. Again, that kind of lays it out for you.
Can you talk real quick about kind of the process? Say we do have a claim. It's definitely a service contract coverage item. What would they do? What do they typically do? Who do they call? We're going to put your number up. Should they just call you?
No, you would have to call the administrator. We don't handle claims. We do the sales. I have people call me all the time and they say, "Hey, Vaughn, can you help me out?" Yeah, I direct them to. That's part of what I do. It's part of my job is to make sure that
a little added value.
Yeah,
nice.
And a lot of people are like, "You're out of luck," but not here. What was the question? I'm sorry. It's totally.
Oh yeah. The claims process.
Okay.
What is the claims process typically on one of these service contracts?
Now I'm going to give you a little story. A gentleman calls me. He says, "Hey, Vaughn, I went out and he replaced something on his stove. He did it himself." He says, "Well, I need to get reimbursed for that." And I'm like, "Well, you have to get prior approval before that. And the work has to be done by a service center, right? So you have to have prior approval." So the scenario would be this: you take your coach, and let's say it's your stove is acting up. Okay, they do their assessment, tell you how much it's going to be, then they have to call the administrator. Okay, that's where having your contract with you at all times, so that they have the number to call directly to the claims people. Then they'll approve it, have them do it. Then when the work is done, they pay them over the phone with a corporate credit card. Okay, you can't just go out and get the work done and expect it to be covered, because there may be some things in there that are not covered. Okay, and then you're upset that, "Hey, I bought this thing, it's supposed to cover." Well, again, knowing what the process is, what you have to do, that avoids any issues you might run into. So the process is you get prior approval before any work is done. Once they get that, they do their assessment, and then they okay it. And it sounds like it's a long process. It is not. Some companies it is. The companies that we represent, that we use, it's a quick turnaround. There are some companies out there require the service companies to use used parts instead of new parts, or they want total details, and those companies are a little more difficult to deal with. But with the three companies that we use, that's not the case. That's not the case. But you have to get prior approval. It doesn't matter what company you use. You have to get prior approval before any work's done and expect to be paid for.
I noticed that some of the people may already have RVs, which is fine. Like you said, you got many years you can get coverage added on. Talk about inspections though. Like, is that important that there's an inspection done as part of that process? Or explain that.
I always tell people, be leery of companies that don't require an inspection. If your coach or your RV is still under a factory warranty, they don't require an inspection. Okay. But if it's out of the initial warranty, then they do require an inspection. That inspection not only protects the company from any pre-existing conditions, but it also protects the consumer as well. And I'll give you an example. I had a gentleman call me. He's 2 months into a plan with another company, and he's really upset. He says, I want to get a quote for a new plan. And he explained to me, he says, I bought this thing 2 months ago. They didn't. I asked him, did they require an inspection? He said, no, they had a 30-day waiting period. Well, he's like 45, 50 days into the plan. So it's out of the 30-day period. And they denied the claim for a water heater. And I asked him why they did that. And he said, it's a pre-existing condition. And I said, well, had they done an inspection, they would have known it was working at the time that you entered into the contract. So for that reason, it's kind of be leery of these companies that don't require an inspection, because it gives them an out down the road. Inspections are important for the company, because here's a funny story. I had a gentleman call me up, and he was, man, I got to get one of these plans. I got to get it quick. And I was like, okay. So we did all the paperwork and everything. And I told him, I said, well, I'm going to set up your inspection. And he said, inspection? I said, yeah, we have to have an inspection. He says, well, my AC went out and I need it replaced. That's why I'm buying this thing. I said, well, sir, it doesn't work that way. I said, that's like buying health insurance after you break your arm and expecting them to pay for it. He wasn't happy with me, but I'm like, it doesn't work that way. So, it protects the company. It also protects the customer as well. We've had customers. Now, you have to enter into the contract before we can set up the inspection. But let's say you're going to pick up your coach in a week and a half, okay? But you want to buy a contract or a service plan from us, okay? We enter into the contract and everything and set up your inspection, okay? And that inspector goes to the dealership to do the inspection before the customer picks it up. We've done that before. We've done that many times before. So that gives you kind of peace of mind too before you leave, especially if it's a used, it's a used unit, it gives you a little bit more peace of mind too, that the inspector said, hey, everything's cool. And so that's another thing. Now, let's say it's not.
Do they pay? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, we pay for the inspection.
Okay, so it's not like
customer does not pay for the inspection. No.
Oh, okay, nice. Okay.
No, and also if you've already purchased, they come to you to do the inspection. You don't have to take it anywhere. The inspectors come to you. They just make sure everything's in working order. They don't really tear into everything. It's not a real extensive inspection like you may have. They just want to make sure everything on the list there is in working order when you enter into the contract.
Oh, okay. Nice. Mm-hmm. And I always wondered, I used to work at Nationwide Insurance years ago when I first got out of college for, 7 or 8 years. Mm-hmm. And it was always fascinating to me and especially thinking about RV extended service contracts, like, oh my goodness, I see how many of these contracts are paid, these claims that are paid from reports and so forth. And it's like, wow, I, after driving RVs and stuff too, I'm like, I think it's really a good idea. It's not if it's going to break, it's when it's going to break. So I'm like, how do these guys stay in business, these warranty companies, these service contract companies? And being at Nationwide, I kind of knew the answer because I worked in claims at Nationwide too. And I watched all this money going out in claims, but then I saw they basically just the company every month for these premiums. then they invest that money and they make way more on their investments, and they really don't make money. They break even on their claims and all that kind of stuff. So it's basically just a way for them to invest. So that's how they stay in business. So if you're wondering, because I always wondered that, it's like, how do these warranty guys stay in business? But okay, I'm going to pop up a screen here. And you tell me the first thing that comes to mind when I bring up this other type of warranty. Boom.
Okay. Yeah, these warranty for life, they sound wonderful. They sound great, but man, like I read the fine print. The warranty for life is basically what a dealership will have. And basically you have to bring your coach in every year, and you pay a certain amount to have it have this inspection and everything done. What they do, you bring it in and they do their assessment. And if something's wrong, certainly they'll pay for it, but you have to pay a fee to do that. If you do not bring it in on the exact date that they tell you, or, that you have to, or you skip it or forget about it or whatever, that quote warranty is gone, is null and void. And, I've had so many people contact me and say, hey, I had this warranty for life. And they said, it's not, I don't have it anymore because I didn't bring it in during the time that they wanted it. Now, what's interesting, Tim, is some of these, okay, you may pay $250. Okay, come in, bring it in, pay $250. They do their assessment and whatever. And if they find something, and fix it, okay, that's well and good. But a lot of that fee goes up like every year.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, in some cases, I'm not saying with all of them, but some cases, okay, this year it's $200. Next year I bring it in, it's going to be $275. The next year I come in, it's going to be $350, so on and so forth. Okay.
It's kind of like the service fee on the timeshares.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, my goodness, like I can, anyways.
So, if you're dealing with a dealer that has warranty for life, have them explain it to you in detail. Yeah. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but boy, if you miss out on that date, if you're one day past the date that your warranty's you're gone. It's gone. It's no longer in force.
That's why I wanted to warn folks. I mean, I guess I was onto it about 4 or 5 years ago. I was walking around a dealer only RV show where it's just, vendors and dealers, dealers, attendees, and then the vendors were there pushing their wares. Well, this company or one like it, Warranty for Life, was there. And I remember walking by the booth and they like snagged me, like explaining it to me. And in his pitch to me, he's like, oh, this is great because your customers on average, and this was like 5 years ago, will spend an extra $900 every year with you in your service department. So this will be good for you. Like I'm thinking customer, my little BS detectors are going up. I'm like, that can't be good if that's how you're selling it is for the dealership to make a lot more money off these people every year by forcing them in there. And
And what's funny is you get in the closing room, even though you have that warranty for life, they're still going to try to sell you an extended service plan. And like, why would I need that if I have this?
Right. I have a warranty for life. Why do I need another
warranty for life? What do I need this for? So, and that cracks me up. And they'll say, well, in case you're out and about, something goes wrong, you need it fixed immediately. Well, again, if I can wait to have it fixed by bringing it back here, and that's the thing that cracks me up is like, why would I need that?
Man. Well, hey, I appreciate you taking time to answer all these questions and kind of set us straight on this stuff. So this has been really helpful. Hopefully you guys have been helpful. I wanted to put up your information just as a thank you for giving your time to help explain all this for us. Because no matter where you end up going, whether it's buying through a dealer, all that, I think you've made some really valid points. And if people want to get in touch with you for more questions, here's your email. Is this right? I got this all right?
Yeah. I mean, that email will come to me, but my direct email is vmiller@rvingsolutions.com. I get that one too. Information.
Okay,
That's
I'll
one
put
we
that
have on
in
the
here.
website.
Vaugh Miller RVing Solutions. I'm going to put that in the chat too.
People, certainly we want to help you and help you to make the right decisions when buying a service contract, whether you buy from us or buy from somebody else. But if you want to quote and do comparisons, I'm more than happy to help you. The one thing that we do that really I take a lot of pride in is the fact that we're different than I think a lot of brokers, in the sense that some brokers, you buy the plan from them, they turn you over to the administrator and say, hey, good luck to you, and if you have any questions, they won't help you. No, when you purchase a plan through us, you are my customer and you always will be my customer. So if there's something that I can do to help you, I'm going to be there.
So you're more like an advocate, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Because through that sales process, what's that, Tim?
Yeah, you're kind of like an advocate. So you kind of put the boxing gloves on. You go out there if you need to make sure you get those things happening. That's good.
Yeah, if that's something that I can help with our relationship with the administrator, there may be kind of a fine line there. I'll give you an example, Tim.
Okay.
There's a gentleman had a backup camera on his coach, went bad. They replaced the camera, but was with a different camera than what the system the guy had, right?
Yeah.
Because that other company went out of business. Well, they replaced the camera, but the camera still didn't work. The problem was with the camera, but when they replaced it with a different camera, that camera didn't work with the system that they had. Well, the company said, well, we did it. We can't help that it still doesn't work. Well, we got on the phone and because we have a gentleman on staff here that has a great relationship with the company and an advocate, as we say. And he calls them up and says, hey, this is the problem that we had. And it's only like a $90 fix to buy, the stuff to make the camera work. And it's like, it kind of makes sense. The guy wasn't upset. He says he understood. However, is there anything we can do? And we were able to help him out. Okay. I mean, the administrator has the final say, but when you do it that way, when you're dealing with these claims people, it's black or white. There's no gray area, but in case there are those gray areas, now the answer may still be the same, but we'll fight for you. And that's what we take a lot of pride in right there is that, I can't, there's a lot of things I can and can't do, but we're certainly going to try.
Well, I appreciate you taking time to help explain all this. And folks, if you have more questions, don't be afraid to ask Vaugh, and hopefully he can help you and save you a lot of money too in the process and get you something that pays the bills. And that's the key. So
it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and I enjoy this.
And the key is we want you out camping, not worrying about this stuff. So peace of mind, I think, is well worth the homework that you guys are going to do, reading the contract before you sign it, and picking a good one. So thanks so much. All right, folks, happy camping, and we'll look forward to seeing you at some campground or state park or national park somewhere, hopefully someday.
Enjoy the camping season, folks.